All right, welcome back. My name is Chris Sachinelli. I'm the founding partner of Bootstrapper Capital, and I get to build, buy, and sell simple profit businesses every single day. And today we're here to talk about the story, right? The origin and the vision, the purpose, the mission, the intention behind Bootstrapper Capital. So that hopefully you can get to know us a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit sooner, so that you can make a good, timely decision of whether or not partnership with Bootstrapper in some form, shape, or fashion makes sense for you is a good decision to be able to make, right? So like most folks, on most stories and most journeys, especially those that are successful, everybody thinks that it just happens, right? That it's like an overnight success, that you wake up one day and everything's working, everything's good, and everything's where it needs to be. But that's not the reality, right? The reality is it's a slow grind. Life, especially in this journey of bootstrapping a business, or doing what we do in the build, buy, sell game, or accumulating anything worth accumulating, it's a journey, right? It's a long process. It's like an iceberg. It's like people see the 10% or whatever that's above water, but everything else, that 90% of like the everyday grind, like the wake up, the put in the hard work, the do the things that people just don't want to do, right? The shovel it sometimes, the shovel it to ship it type of thing. Like the stuff, like the ugly stuff, right? Nobody wants to talk about that or acknowledge that that's just a part of the process. We've been at this for a really long time. So it's like an overnight success, yeah, but it took 10 plus years, in the making type of thing. And we know a lot of folks have that same type of story, because that's typically what it is if you earn it, right? If you earn it, if you deserve it, you put in the hard work and you get it done. And that's what we do as bootstrappers. We trust the process and we commit to the journey, right? For us as bootstrappers, it's like everything starts somewhere, right? As a bootstrapper, you are your own first investor, right? So for us, bootstrapping Bootstrapper Capital, quite literally bootstrapping Bootstrapper Capital, it's like I am our investor, right? For the most part, I am the bank, I am the money, right? For pretty much every deal we do, it's my capital. So I'm the one carrying the liability. I feel the pain of every single check, every single deal that we get into, right? You're forced to make those good, timely decisions with everything, and you feel it, and it's close to home, and you got to put in the work to be able to make it justifiable and make it work out and get to the profitable outcomes at the end of it, right? But you got to commit. So, because that's the case, like at the end of the day, we are our own first investors by definition. We like to call it, we like to fondly call ourselves investopreneurs, right? And we are all on this journey that we call the Investopreneur's Journey. So it's kind of like, you're launching a business, you're building a business, maybe you bought a business, right? You're putting your own capital in, your own time in, right? You're committing yourself. You are that investor. So we promote folks to take that discipline, that mindset, right, of the risk mitigated approach of an investor, and then the passion and the grit of an entrepreneur, and combine the best of both worlds, and you just get it done. And that's what we call, investopreneurship. It's a less risky approach to entrepreneurship. And we very fondly refer to folks in our ecosystem, bootstrappers, as investopreneurs, right? So it's just like a way for us to kind of like self-identify and quickly kind of say like, hey, we're folks that are willing to take the risk, but we're doing it in a smart way. And, at the end of the day, we're willing to do whatever it takes to just get it done, right? To put in the hard work and get it done, which I think is what makes bootstrappers and investpreneurs, a breed above the rest. I think that we're just better entrepreneurs. We're a better breed of entrepreneur. We earn it, right? We earn it. We don't go out there and feel like, this is something like a position of privilege in which, we just deserve it or whatever. We earn it. And thus, because we earn it, we deserve it, right? For all of the right reasons and probably more. So with Bootstrapper Capital and everything that we're doing in the ecosystem, whether it's content that we're putting out on YouTube, the podcasts, the newsletters, right? So anything within this like micro media co-platform that we're building, or anything we're doing inside the community, or the deals that we get done, right? Like everything we do, it's all about, this is what I'm doing, right? It's all coming from a place of authenticity of like, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing, right? I am building $100 million portfolio, and I am doing it 100% in public. And this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. I'm going to share it. You can follow along. You can make a decision if you want to do it this way too or not. perfectly cool. It's up to you, right? But that's where it's coming from, and that's our approach. It's not, this is what you should do, right? I hate watching all of these YouTube channels of folks that you just know have just never lived this life. Like, it's not them. Like, it's not their stuff. Like, they just don't get it. It's not true and through authentic, right? They haven't felt the pain, right? The hardship, the grit, the perseverance, just show up every single day type of thing. And everything that we're trying to do is the opposite of that, the polar opposite. As the same goes with like traditional VC. Like, there's so much money sloshing around. There's so many people sitting up in their ivory tower, right? They go out and raise some money or whatever, and they think because they have a pen and a checkbook that they can, they're maybe positioned better than other people or whatever the situation is, or they could look down on folks for certain things, whatever the situation is, or they could just buy their way to to outcomes or results. And it's just like, that's not the way life or the world really truly works. At the end of the day, somebody has to do the work. So like, at the end of the day, we're the people that know how to get it done, right? We're the breed of entrepreneur that just go in, just show up and just get it done, right? You can't just buy yourself. You can't just hit the easy button, right? It's just, a cultural thing, realistically. So when we talk to investpreneurs or other bootstrappers, we know that life is a real thing. And we try to promote this concept of like, you got to stay in this game, right? So this game is all about playing it, right? In order to win the game, you have to first play the game. In order to play the game, you have to stay in the game. And a great way of staying in the game is to take risk off the table as you're building, buying, and selling, right? So we call it the Investopreneur's Journey. And we promote folks to say, we say, go get a job, get somebody to pay you to get experience, right? Take all of that experience and some of that pay, go build an asset on the side, get cash flow coming in, get your asset to match your income, and then be in a position where you can go level up, right? A lot of what we're doing and a lot of what we need to be in a position to be able to do what we're doing successfully, it's all about freedom to decide, right? So I'm fortunate. I did get lucky to a certain extent because I think luck plays a big part of everything, but you also have to just show up, right? You got to be there to be able to get lucky, right? You got to stick at it to get lucky, right? So luck does play a part, but you got to earn the luck, right? Luck can be manufactured through hard work and grit and grind and commitment. I did get lucky. I had a couple of exits. I built some businesses. I put myself in a position with freedom to decide, meaning like you have the full freedom to decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and why, and follow your why. Understand what motivates you, what gets you out of bed, what gets you to commit to the hard stuff so that you just show up every single day and you grit and you grind and you persevere and you just get it done, right? Because life is not easy, right? Life is a very real thing. So how are you going to continue to just show up? Right. So you got to know your why and you got to be able to pursue your why. And the pursuit of the why, or the freedom to pursue your why, is the freedom to decide. Right. So not everybody has that. Not everybody has the money in the bank to be able to do that. Right. Out of just set go. Right. Like sometimes, everything starts somewhere. So this is a way that anybody, realistically, what we tried to do was look back and reflect and say, hey, what's a less risky approach here? And what's a way to get everybody to be able to be in a position where you can have this freedom to decide? And this is what we landed on in terms of like a functional form follows function approach to be able on this journey, to be able to commit. And at the end of the day, what we commit to is simple, right? We try to just keep it simple because you're trying to take as much risk off the table as you possibly can, right? You're trying to maximize the likelihood that what you're doing is going to be successful, right? Because life is not easy, right? Most businesses fail across the board. If you've ever been in the trades or anything like that, you know that if you got a job, you want to do that job as simple as possible, as quick as possible, right? As little work as possible to get to the same outcomes, the highest possible quality with the little possible inputs, right? Like that's how you keep it simple and you actually move the ball down the field, right? So that's what we're about. And that's what we try to focus on. That's what we try to have learned. That's what we do for ourselves. And we just know that simple works, but like simple is not easy. So when we're Bootstrapper Capital and we're all about keep it simple, right? Because that's who we are and what we're about. We know at the end of the day, like simple works, but simple is definitely not easy, right? So you got to show up and you got to leverage the things that work, but you got to be able to commit to doing the hard work to make it see it through. So with Bootstrapper Capital, that's kind of what we focus on. That's who we are. That's somewhat of the why behind it, right? So it's all about keep it simple. Right. At the end of the day, we are in this build, buy, sell game. So we do build, buy, and sell simple profit businesses every single day. We are by definition kind of like a micro PE firm. We're more of like a hold co, right? We're like more like a continuous capital vehicle. Kind of, I very fondly refer to us as a poor man's Berkshire. That's, aspirationally what trying to build this to. And I have this vision of it. Like, I'm in this. This is my forever vehicle. Like, I'm going to be doing this forever, right? I'm trying to set something up that's multi-generational, that's going to impact a lot of lives, including the lives of my kiddos, right? I got, 3 kiddos. I got a nice loving family. I love my family to death. And everything that I do every single day is mostly for them as well as for myself selfishly, right? So it's like selfish to be selfless, to be selfish, this type of thing. And a lot of our approach follows that. Like a lot of our approach in terms of building the ecosystem and why we do things the way that we do it and how we're involving folks and what we're trying to craft and shape and push forward, it's all tied to this. So yeah, we are kind of like a poor man's Berkshire. And we buy, we build, we sell or hold, and then we repeat, right? We just know like buying a business is easier than building a business. So if you're in a position where you can buy a business, it's way easier and it's less risky. Realistically, it's a risk mitigated approach to get to simple, profitable outcomes than building. But if you can't buy, then you build, right? You keep it simple and you build, right? Everything starts somewhere. We do both. We've done both. I've done both. I do both, right? I am building Bootstrapper Capital and I'm doing it 100% in public so people can see, what works, what doesn't work, successes and failures, right? Because life is a real thing. But that's what we try to do. We try to buy businesses. We try to build them up, build wedge, right? What we call wedge equity, or the difference between what a company is worth when they start to, after we get done improving it, the difference in the middle, that's the wedge. That's the increase of value. We are the best in the world, or we are aspiring to be the best in the world at building wedge equity, right? And then you decide to sell it or you hold it. And then you just repeat that process, right? So that's like the core of who we are and what we do. And the goal is, it's not like a huge aspirational goal at right now because, I find that it's best to be pretty grounded. Like I think the concept of 10 yards at a time to get to the goal line, and then it's one goal at a time to get to the game, and then one game at a time to get to the season, and one season at a time to get to the championship, and then one championship at a time to get to a legacy, right? I think that that's a practical approach. It's like how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right? Do things in small acts. So for us right now, the small goal line, the next 10 yards is to bootstrap $100 million portfolio, 100% in public, right? To share and show and learn and evolve with everybody simultaneously as we're doing this thing. And then as we accomplish our goals and more folks are getting involved and our ecosystem's growing, that's when this is going to shift and shape and probably become more of like a true vision, right? Something that's more of like a 50-year type of goal or a vision. So the goal is really to do it as a community, right? Rising tides raise all boats. So I took a community first approach when building Bootstrapper Capital, right? Like Bootstrapper Capital was a relatively new brand onto itself. I want it to be a huge brand. I want it to be one of the biggest brands in the world, especially at what we do. Genuinely want it to be like our generation's version of Berkshire to a certain extent, and do it where a lot of people are involved and where it helps and empowers and grows a lot of folks on their journey in life, and gets a lot of folks to that freedom, the freedom to decide thing. So you could pursue your own why, because I think a lot of people pursuing their why means a lot of opportunity, right, to potentially ship and shape the world. I think that folks not following their why or not having the freedom to decide, I think that's a lot of opportunity cost. I think that if you want to truly change the world, you position folks with the freedom to be able to do what they're the best at, what they're the most passionate at, because I think the byproduct of that helps and impacts the most people possible. I think that's genuinely a great way to do things. So we did it with this community concept, and it was a risk mitigated approach onto itself and bringing this business and this model to market, because again, everything starts somewhere, and I started this thing, right? So I started by kind of structuring my thoughts and figuring out exactly our picture of a why, what our true voice is, like who we are in the most authentic of ways possible, like really build foundationally. I did it in this safe way of a community because it was closed. I knew who was seeing it. I was still getting feedback loops, right, from our ideal persona of the Investopreneur. So you're doing it and you're growing, but you're doing it for yourself. You do it for yourself before you do it for others. And this was a a cathartic process of me doing it for myself. And this took a lot of time, right? So even up until this point of this slide, this is years in the making type of thing, right? So you're building foundationally. It's like, again, like an iceberg, like 90% of it is underwater. 10% is what people see, but you just show up, you do the hard work, you put in what you need to every single day, and you eventually get to your outcomes. The outcome I got to off of doing it this way was clarity, right? So it was clarity in terms of like a thesis of how we're going to build this portfolio, how we're going to accomplish our goals, how we're going to do it as an ecosystem, a community, and do it as bootstrappers in the most authentic possible way. And what we backed into is like the core component of what we need for ourselves to build wedge equity, and then also what we need for others to do the same. It became all about structure, strategies, and accountabilities, right? Because you could have the structures and strategies, but without the accountabilities, nothing gets done. You could be super accountable and show up every day, but without the structure and strategies, you don't know what you're doing. So it's really a combination of the structure, strategies, and accountabilities, and that's what equals the simple, profitable outcomes. So that's what we invested in. That's why I sat down, built it, and designed a lot of boot camps around. We took all the things that we authentically do for ourselves and we started to document it. We started to really carve it down into some sort of productized type of experience that could then be delivered, right, to others, to be adopted and utilized, to get to the point of utilization, because within utilization is value, right? So we took a lot of intentional time. And then from there, the goal is like, let's open it up to as many investpreneurs as possible. And let's do it for free, right? Because like you get more by giving than by taking. So that all of that work, right? That's like years in the making type of thing, which, commitment, talk about commitment, right? Talk in a big way. Just show up and do that without anybody even knowing that you're doing it. Do that without anybody knowing that you're doing it. Do that without any financial return, any accolades of somebody patting you on the back saying, oh, good job. Just do it for yourself and then do it for years and see if you can, right? That's what we did. That's what we're doing, right? That's how we got to where we are right now. And then the next concept became like come above water, right? That iceberg. Start to let other people experience it. I have a thesis. This was probably so first off, this was the most uncomfortable part of it for me, right? I was not comfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable type of thing. I was very uncomfortable doing the media stuff, like doing the videos, being on YouTube, like the outward facing stuff. I'm really good at deals. I know what I'm doing there. I know how to build wedge equity. I could get into any business in the world probably and figure out a way to pull a lever to manufacture wedge equity, right? But like to do this stuff outwardly and get other folks involved, that was a little bit more uncomfortable, right? So that took a little bit more time, a little bit more effort, a little bit more energy, and I'm still not great at it. Pretty bad. And I only aspire to be better, but it's all part of the journey and everything starts somewhere, right? So everything starts somewhere. Building a micro media company is a simple place for anybody to start, right? It lets you like learn your audience and what folks need, what folks want, what resonates in terms of messaging, sharpen your axe, right? Put in your 1,000 hours, but also strategically from an investment company perspective of Bootstrapper Capital, for us, I genuinely believe the world is shaping, shifting, and the paradigm is changing, right? Like, I think that with the function of like cognitive applications and AI and like what's coming down the pipe over the next 3, 5, 10 years, I think the world we know is going to completely change. I think it's a complete paradigm shift like the internet was. You got to do things differently. You got to evolve. You got to grow. I think that anybody that does not have a media brand or a media personality or distribution of media, right, to own an audience is going to get left behind. I feel like earned media in that capacity, earned distribution in that capacity is the way that you win. So that's where we're focusing. That's another big part of the why, right? So there's always a why behind everything. That's one of the whys. Right? Inclusive in this, it's like you get more by giving than by taking. You always get more by giving by taking. So by creating this media and be able to build this brand and bring it to market, it also positions us in a way where we can give a ton of value, where we can create a ton of content, quality content for the right reasons, deliver a ton of value so you can build a brand fast, right? In process of giving to the audience, what we get in exchange is a better understanding of their needs. Right. So my goal and my job at the end of the day as a capital allocator is to do great deals. But I got financial capital, I got human capital, right? And I'm building a portfolio. I need to understand both and the allocation of both. And by doing this, I get better at doing my job in that capacity. And then it puts you in this position because you're doing it outwardly, where again, you got to be accountable. You got to just show up. You got to do the hard work, and you got to do it every single day, right? And you got to commit, right? Trust the process, commit to the journey. Byproduct of all of it, give. What you hopefully get in exchange is this competitive moat. And I genuinely, again, have this thesis that in the future, very short future, near-term future, everybody's going to want to have a competitive moat around distribution. And I believe that the investment firm, the company, the baby Berkshire, right, the Bootstrapper Capital that wins this game in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years is going to be the one that has a competitive moat around distribution, right? So everything starts somewhere, and we're starting there now. In this process, we're creating this content. We're naturally building this ecosystem. What we're also doing is finding operating partners, right? The human capital, right? Because you got financial capital and then you got human capital. Two of them combined create opportunities for building great businesses and very successful portfolios. But you need the factors of production, right? And people are a huge component of building successful businesses. Great people make great businesses. So we wanted to create this path. We wanted to be able to figure out a way that we could create a path for more folks who kind of resonate with this, right? Where it's like, I get that. That feels right. I've always wanted to do that. I aspire towards this, but I don't really necessarily know how, or the doors have been closed, or there's some friction in the way, whatever the case is, because there's always a why. Be able to break down barriers, open up doors, and create this journey for folks to be able to get involved with, right? So that's what we are aspiring to do. We're in the process of doing it now. And it's all been through this Investpreneur's journey that I've also been living myself. Like literally, again, everything we're doing, everything that we talk about, everything that we discuss is not, this is what you should do. It's all, this is what we're doing, or this is what we already done, right? Or this is what we intend to do. Some of it's future cash, and this is what we intend to do. But it's a simple way to start, right? Everything starts somewhere. And we want to give folks a way to start in this build, buy, sell game. So we're trying to grow the ecosystem, grow opportunity, and in the process be able to accomplish our goals, right? Again, selfish to be selfless, to be selfishest, of building a $100 million portfolio 100% in public. Natural byproduct of getting folks involved as operating partners became Simple Profits. Simple Profits is our outward advisory consulting business, right? It's in our advisory arm. So it's quite literally like you do it for yourself and then you do it for others, right? So we build wedge equity for ourselves. We've productized, simplified, right? Operationalized how to build wedge equity. We do it for ourselves. We do it for our portfolio companies. We do it for our own why. Because you do it for yourself, you can now do it for others. So Simple Profits is our way to do it for others as an advisory business, to build wedge equity, to get to simple, profitable outcomes, and in the process also get operating partners involved in the experience, right? Experientially learn. It's probably the best way to do these types of things, right? And that opens up doors. A lot of folks don't ever really have the opportunity to experience things or learn through experiences, right? Again, we're becoming the best in the world. If we're not already, we will. We aspire to be the best in the world at building wedge equity. So everything we do with Simple Profits is about the structures, the strategies, the accountabilities to get to simple, profitable outcomes, the composition, right? Or the financial engineering, in a sense, of building wedge equity, because you can build wedge equity. There's components that you add into a business that you can improve or add or optimize to build wedge equity and deliver it, which makes a better, more valuable business, right? That's also how we do our deals. All of this stuff, this whole journey, all of these things combined, ultimately it culminates into this accumulation that we call the Bootstrapper Ecosystem, right? So our ability to host a community, to be able to have investopreneurs involved, to be able to work with businesses building wedge equity, right? Doing it for them, to be able to have portfolio companies that are coming in and doing deals with us so that we can do it together, right? To be able to host live events through Bootstrapper Lives, to launch virtual co-working so that we could cultivate, an ecosystem, a lot of folks doing it, whether, again, you're doing it on your own, you're doing it with us, or we're doing it, kind of for you in a deal structure. We want more people involved because we believe rising tides, genuinely raises all boats. And if you're trying to do anything worth doing, right, especially something that has momentum, magnitude behind it, a purpose behind it, a why behind it, you really do need like a lot of folks. It takes a village to get these types of things done, especially if it's something worth doing like this, which could potentially impact the lives of a lot of folks, change the lives of a lot of families, right? Create a lot of opportunities. Like this could be a game changer for a lot of folks, not just ourselves. In the process, it will be for ourselves too, right? We'll level up, hopefully level up together. And the goal here is like asking the question of the who, what, when, why, how, right? To optimize in terms of positioning, supporting, and most importantly, facilitating. Really shouldn't use the word support on this slide. I should use the word facilitate. It's like, how do we facilitate other investopreneurs, right? So it's like we lead with this is what we're doing. We share that, and then folks decide to travel that journey as well. Like our goal and our job and our objective is to simplify, like how do we facilitate it as best as possible for other folks, other investors on the journey to build, buy, and sell, right? Successfully, simple, profitable businesses. So that's what we're constantly trying to problem solve for. This is the aspirational purpose of, intentionally, how do we make this better for where we want to go? And the goal is ultimately to always reduce risk, maximize the upside, right? And unlock as much potential as possible, whether it's, potential wedge equity that we're locking into deals to be able to maximize return on deals, or potential in the form of like getting folks to that freedom, the freedom to decide to pursue their why, right? That's a massive amount of potential to unlock for this world, right? So if you're to vision cast, 50 years from now, right? Because this is going to be forever business for us. If you're, this is where we are, at some point, maybe in a year or 5 years, it's like you look to the left of you, you look to the right of you, you attend a Bootstrapper live event, right? We're doing cool things. We're all in this experience together. You look to the left, you look to the right, and you see 100 people, right? And then like 5 years later, you come on back and you look to the left, you look to the right, you see 1,000. And then hopefully in like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we could all look to the left of us, look to the right of us, see 1 million people or more, right? Living this journey, right? Being able to be in this position to follow and pursue the why with full freedom to decide, right? In the process, unlock a ton of potential, a ton of opportunity, and hopefully change a lot of lives for a lot of people. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we aspire to do. It's a big part of our why. This was a long video. I appreciate you if you watched it to the end. We just wanted to share a little bit more about us so that if you do decide to join the community, you get to know us a little bit first, right? If you end up doing a deal with us, definitely experience us more, come into the community, hang out, get to know us, right? It's all about relationships. This is a relationship game, right? You do one deal to do another type of thing, right? It's a long goal here, right? Life is a long journey, right? And we're all in it together. Hopefully sometime soon, we get to hang out, we get to meet each other, and maybe even sooner we'll do a deal together. All right. Appreciate you.